from Coventry for their continued support for the last 4 years of the show.
Yes, indeed. Well, speaking of emails, I received my very favorite question about Medicare at 8 a.m. this morning.
Well, lay it upon us then.
Kevin wrote, I'm a longtime listener to your show and love the program. No mention of me being absent, and I'm still loving it. But anyway, I turned 65 in 1 month and have a question about signing up for Medicare. I want to confirm what I believe I've heard on your show. I plan to work a couple more years and am currently covered by my company's health plan. My understanding is that I can defer signing up for Medicare if I continue to work and be covered by my current plan. When I do retire in a couple of years, I can sign up at that time with a letter from my company saying I've been covered over the interim period since I turned 65. Is this correct, or do I still need to sign up before I turn 65?
Boy, Kevin's a good listener.
Kevin, not only is Kevin a good
He's
listener,
a rock star listener, by the way.
If he wanted to work in retirement and wanted to come join us, I think, he covered it so well that we would definitely be open to an interview if he wanted to come assist others in signing up for Medicare.
Yeah, but we're not putting him on our health plan.
Well,
he's got to take Medicare.
He's got to take the Medicare. Okay.
But until
then,
that was really the point, though, right?
That is correct. Kevin has it perfectly, which is that if you are working for an employer that has over 25 employees, that you are not required to sign up for Medicare, because what will happen is your company's policy will always be primary to Medicare. Medicare will then be secondary. And this is a little bit of a misconception with people thinking that because back in the good old days, when you could be covered under your employer's plan, and if you were married, you were also covered under your spouse's plan, and maybe it didn't cost anything, and that dual coverage created a situation where you had very little out-of-pocket expenses because your employer's plan would be primary for you. It would come in and cover some of the expenses. It would then go to your secondary plan. It would cover more expenses, and you would have a very low bill at the end of the day. But what happens when Medicare is secondary is that Medicare is only required to pay about 80% of a Medicare covered expense, which are usually any type of medical claims.
Except for drugs.
Correct. So if your employer's plan pays first and they pay up to 80%, potentially more than 80% of whatever the given claim is, Medicare is not going to come in and pick up anything else. You're still going to be liable for that remainder, but the problem is that you're paying a premium. Because Medicare Part A, you can apply for if you want. It's not necessary until you retire. It doesn't cost anything. Medicare Part B is at $134 as the base premium for 2017. So you're going to pay $134 extra per month, and very few.
And after tax too, by the way.
Exactly, and very few people actually see benefit from it because of what we just talked about, what a Medicare payout rate is. So it doesn't make sense to apply for your Medicare benefits until you actually leave your employer. And what will happen is, just like Kevin mentioned, is you then sign up when you leave your employer's plan. And there are two applications. There's the Medicare Part B application, and then as opposed to just a signed letter from your employer, you take the request for employer information application to your HR department, and it says, from the day Kevin turned 65 until the day his plan terminated due to retirement, he was on the company plan. They sign that for you. You take it to the Social Security office, and what it does is it first opens up that Medicare Part B enrollment period because you are now using a special election versus your initial. So Kevin's in his initial election period right now. He's turning 65. He doesn't want to use that. That's completely fine. There are no penalties associated with that as long as you have credible coverage like he does. So he's going to wait a couple of years until he retires and use the special election. So that's opened up with those two applications. And then also what that second application through the employer does is it tells Medicare not to assess a penalty against Kevin because he's had credible medical and prescription drug coverage since he turned 65 until the day he decided to jump on to Medicare.
So the real answer here again is do nothing because you don't have to.
Exactly. And
throw all the junk away. It's cool.
Yes, because everyone buys the same exact list of every single individual turning 65 within the next 3 months. So you're going to get information from Essence. You're going to get it from Aetna. You're going to get it from Coventry. You're going to get it from United Healthcare.
And a gazillion insurance agents trying to sell you a standard Medicare supplement.
Exactly. Any other plans out there that are available, you'll receive that information, but it's not necessary to sign sign up. And I think another important component of this is many people say, oh, you have to sign up for Part A, though. You got to. You don't have to sign up for Part A. And in fact, if you are using a health savings account through your employer, which many employer-based plans have actually moved towards,
And we are.
you're at you just promo it every single time. I hope that
Well,
I hope the staff is listening.
I know the staff doesn't listen. So what's cool is that I can say, well, I talked about this a lot.
I've said it several times.
Exactly.
Weren't listening. Anyway, so if you have an employer-based plan that uses a health savings account, you are accessing triple taxed advantage dollars. You put money in pre-tax, it grows tax deferred. You can use it for medical expenses tax-free. Also, your employer potentially could be contributing some money to that. If you enroll in Medicare Part A, you knock yourself out of the ability
You
to
disqualify
contribute.
yourself.
Exactly. You
Right?
disqualify yourself from contributing any longer to the HSA. You could still pay out all the money you've accumulated, over the course of the rest of your life, but you lost that ability to contribute or to have your employer contribute. So I would definitely say it makes a lot of sense to confirm with an expert if you are having questions still, but don't just go with what friends and family might suggest.
I mean, if you were to enroll in Part A when you don't have to, and especially if you're not enrolling with B, it's an unforced error. Especially
right.
if you're eligible for an HSA plan.
If you don't have an HSA, it's nothing. You have potentially a Part A is your facilities charge with Medicare. So
Right.
potentially if you're admitted to the hospital, maybe you go to rehab, you might see a small benefit from that. If your employer-based plan didn't pay out that full 80%, you'd get a piece of that from the Medicare Part A benefit, but it's not going to help with doctor's visits or medication or anything like that.
So, Kev, good job. What happens is you avoided that unforced error, which
That's
was reaching out and asking an expert a question.
Exactly. Now you know that you can just enjoy your 65th birthday, do nothing.
And you've also
Throw away all the pamphlets and flyers.